around a quarter submitted early ballots. We will, of course, be bringing you updates as we get those results and as we get more updates. But we move on now, and viral videos on social media featuring family members who lost their loved ones reveal that in Kashmir's Pahalgam Valley, 26 individuals were systematically executed. These individuals have been identified by their names, religions, and in some cases, their inability to recite Islamic prayers. However, the global media response was one of avoidance, carefully choosing words such as gunmen, militants, and tensions, instead of labelling it as terrorism. This reflects a broader pattern where the value of a life and the weight of a headline often depend on the identities of both the victims and the perpetrators. Noam Chomsky, in his work Manufacturing Consent, highlighted the power of language in controlling narratives, arguing that it is a tool of propaganda designed to subtly influence moral judgments. The BBC is now facing criticism in India for its coverage of the Pahalgam terror attack. The Western media's portrayal of the tragedy has been called insufficiently severe, with the Indian government formally objecting to the BBC's terminology. The government has sent a letter to BBC India head Jackie Martin expressing strong disapproval over the use of the term militants to describe the attackers. The External Publicity Division of the Ministry of External Affairs will monitor the BBC's future reporting on the matter. This criticism follows a BBC report titled "Pakistan Suspends Visas for Indians After Deadly Kashmir Attack on Tourists," which some social media users claimed misrepresented the situation and implied India as the aggressor. Additionally, the US House Foreign Affairs Committee recently condemned the New York Times for similar language, calling the attackers militants instead of terrorists. Other Western outlets, including The Guardian and The Washington Post, also use similar terminology. Well, as we of course continue to cover the fallout and the ongoing tensions following this devastating terror attack in Pahalgam, Kashmir, we continue to discuss the media and their impact on covering such a terror attack. Joining us to discuss that is retired Major General Sanjay Sawyer, Senior Defence Expert. Thank you very much, Major General, for being here with us. Of course, we're looking at a situation in which Western media are reporting on this devastating terror attack in a way which some social media users say misrepresents the reality and the facts of the situation. How important is it that media are correctly representing a situation as extreme as this, with potential consequences as serious as this?
Absolutely, Joshua. In fact, thanks for the invite. And I would like to ask them, the feeling, if they could get the feeling of the people who lost their near and dear ones in front of their eyes. The videos are very clear that it was a live firing. Some militants had fired, terrorists had come, they fired on the unarmed people, on the tourists, and they also asked the religion. I mean, how can we can be soft on those? How can our language be like militant, not terrorist? They are absolutely dreaded terrorists. This is a heinous crime against humanity, and a terrorist is a terrorist for everybody, irrespective of any country, any religion, or any caste, color, creed. So we have to think on those lines. Unfortunately, I mean, I would say that what BBC had mentioned, that Pakistan bans visa for Indian tourists due to terror attack in Kashmir. No, it gives an impression as if India has carried out a terror attack in Kashmir. So that's why Pakistan has banned a visa for Indians. I mean, this kind of misrepresentation, the people who are not aware, maybe in the West, some people may not be keeping a tab of what is happening in India and Kashmir. There are a number of other things. Once they read it, they form an opinion. Yes, India is oppressor. India is not following human rights issue. India has been suppressing the Kashmir. I mean, if anybody has been to Kashmir, last year I was there in Kashmir, It was absolutely open. I could go around anywhere. The people were welcoming. And if you see at present also, after the attack, the biggest slap on the Pakistan and the terrorist is by the people of Kashmir only. They have come out in numbers. They said that this is against their livelihood. They have hit the life of Kashmir. They have hit the culture of Kashmir. So, I mean, these kind of things are just not acceptable. Fortunately, U.S. cabinet member of the cabinet had pointed out to New York Times on their word use of militants to terrorists, but an Indian government has taken a stand against BBC. You know what, Joshua? When I was young, BBC had such credibility. During 1971 war, I was a very young child. Everybody would listen to BBC. We will believe BBC more than the India or Pakistan channel because we knew that they would be impartial, they'll give the truth news. But that thing is gradual. They have lost out on that. We have understood the game plan, what the kind of things they are projecting. It is totally number of hidden agendas are there, and there are a number of channels available now to the people. They can differentiate, they can identify, but the credibility of the news channel, credibility of the reporting has to be maintained, Joshua.
Yes, absolutely, Major General. Of course, the attack that we've seen has brought out support from governments. We've seen world leaders from across the globe with support for India following the terrorist attack that we saw, the horrific terrorist attack that we saw in Pahalgam. In your opinion, why do you think that media outlets aren't following that same sentiment and calling this a terrorist attack when it's so clear and governments from across the world are reaching out to India, calling Prime Minister Narendra Modi after the terrorist attack and providing support?
Absolutely. The governments from all part of the world have called on Prime Minister. They have given support because everybody is suffering from terror. Everybody is, whether it is Europe, whether it is America or Middle East, there are terror attacks everywhere. People understand that a terrorist is a terrorist. It has no religion. So we have to. That's why probably they are standing together with India. They are providing support, and they also understand that India has always been raising voice against terror in all global forums, and we have been against terror, and we have suffered a lot, and a lot of other countries are also suffering. They all understand, they share our pain. Joshua.
Yes, Major General Sanjay Soy, thank you ever so much for being here with us. That is all that we have time for, but we will continue to bring you more of the latest breaking news.